those blocks of land released. Just also bear in mind, once that title is released, generally depending on the contract and the developer, you've got 2 weeks to settle upon that title being released. So generally, the developers and their legal teams will contact you just to say, everything's been subdivided. We're sending all the subdivisions to the titles office who actually prepare your individual title for that block that you do purchase. So generally, they'll give you a lot of lead time. The minute that title for your individual block, so you get a title with your reference number, with a title with a volume and folio number, which is your unique individual reference for your block, you've got 2 weeks to settle from the date of that title being released. So generally, trying to get things done within 2 weeks in that short time frame can be a little bit stressful, but also subject to the bank's time frames as well. So just making sure you just keep on top of that as well. The last point I put there is obviously from my personal experience. I'm currently building at the moment, and picking a block is probably the most important aspect of when you're looking to build as well. So finding the right block that can fit the house that you want to build on. What I mean by that is, if you've got a desired house that you'd like to build, generally the builders will have a minimum frontage, whether it be 14, 12, 10, etc. in the depth. So you want to find the house that you can put on a block that's going to best suit what you're designing to build itself. So that's probably a big tip that I've noticed across the years in myself. So, because if you've got a block that's 12 metres wide and the house has to have a minimum frontage of 14, you've got to change your plans. So just keep that in mind. That's probably one of the biggest ones as well. Coming to the construction process, this is where the fun begins. Dealing with builders, building the house you want, it's a very exciting time. How it all works, you have your block, you get your building contract. Once you've got that building contract, that's when we can approach the bank. They'll take that building contract with the valuation and they'll deem the house to be worth X amount, and that's what the bank will lend against. So it's what we call a tentative on completion valuation. The land and house contract together, deem the end value, and that's what they'll lend against. Once the construction phase starts, you'll have what we call 5 progress payments. Now those progress payments are broken down into 5 stages that need to be industry standard. So instead of giving the builder all the money up front, they'll drip feed it based on each stage. All right, don't tell you. Cool, it's all good. Now, that's all fine well from the builder from just drip feeding them, because as they go, they get paid as they go. During the construction phase, it's also important to know that the bank understands you might be paying a mortgage, you might be renting, so that part of the progress payment for the construction becomes interest only. So you're not making full repayments throughout the journey whilst the house is being built until it is fully drawn down. So that kind of gives you a bit of leeway just in terms of monthly expenditure, rates, etc. itself. So one important to note during the construction phase, is if you've got a building contract, make sure you put buffers, anything that you probably think of that might be an additional cost during the construction phase, because any variations outside that building contract, the bank will get you to pay. So the building contract is the bank's Bible. If that has a set figure and you get a variation because you want to put in, an extra room, so we want to put in upgraded carpets, timber, add some sort of extension or addition to the contract, that has to come out of your own pocket if it is not in the building contract. So when you're sitting down with the builders, just make sure that you factor in everything that you want. And look, generally they can put most things in the contract itself. Along the way, you might have some slight variations where it might be a couple $100, grand, etc., which you can mitigate. But anything big, just make sure it is in the contract. Couple of key things to note. Generally, most building contracts are fixed price. Just make sure how long that duration is. Yes, there are, over the recent times, we have had extended delays with construction with materials, which is quite known in the media and the industry. So materials have gone up, labour's gone up, so there are extensive delays. So just make sure you communicate with builders and make sure that there is an adequate time until that contract is fixed before you start building as well. Do your research on the builder. Make sure the builder ticks everything that you want to do from start to finish, etc. Progress payments, which is pretty much industry standard, they'll be in the contract. The gentleman who's about to speak after me, this is my next point, just in terms of building inspectors. These guys are worth your weight in gold, just to make sure that everything is built to industry standard. Not anything against builders or anything, but just making sure the quality's up there. First time owners grant is available. This is a hot topic that we get commonly asked across the board. What kind of first time owners grant do I get? Especially with land and construction, you do get two forms of first time owners grant, which is $10,000 towards the construction, which always goes towards the base stage. In relation to the land, depending on what the land's value is, if the land value is $600,000 below and you are a first home buyer, you will not pay stamp duty on that block. So that's two key massive benefits in saving. I mean, $600,000 land loan or land property value, you're looking at full stamp duty is about $30,000. So it's pretty big savings from that point. Another main question that we do get from a lot of first home buyers, one applicant might have already claimed the first home buyer's grant and the other person hadn't. Unfortunately, if one of the parties who's applying for, whose name's going to be the land, on the contracts with the bank or the land, unfortunately, there'll be no first home grants applied. There is a section within the first homeowners grant form that just does stipulate that, so just keep that in mind. Big one as well, just make sure you get your contracts reviewed as well from conveyancers as well. Just make sure that everything's all hunky-dory in terms of the contracts, the section 32s. Those are probably the big main key points that I'll talk about. When it comes to government grants, I think we've touched about in the first homeowners grant, just to break that down for you guys. So exemptions on the stamp duty. Now, stamp duty up to $600 is waived. However, if you have a land or a property that's from $600 to $750, there are tiered exemptions based on the actual property and price itself. Obviously the FOG, which goes towards construction, that payment is always paid to the first slab payment. So when you get your lovely base stage where that slab goes down, that first homeowners grant actually goes towards that slab payment. It doesn't go to you, it actually goes towards the builder to the first capital improvement of that property itself. This is an interesting topic in itself. The government since COVID has come out and provided some opportunities for first home buyers to get into the market by using certain government grants. There is a website down the bottom there that might be of interest to some of you. This is where potentially you could buy a property with using a 5% deposit. These are all the government schemes that are available. The website down below provides all that information for you. There is certain criteria that is involved to meet these. There's household income measures, you have to be a citizen, and there's a few other recommendations as well, which are all on those websites. Those are available. This is an opportunity to potentially get into the market further. Now just please also bear in mind that not all lenders are associated with these schemes. So the two majors being NAB and CBA are the two who have got available spots within these schemes. The rest of the available spots are with your sort of sub-tier lenders. They're all listed on the website itself, but the two major banks that basically all four just had to present a tender or a proposal to be part of the scheme, and CBA and NAB won that. So there's definitely spots, so definitely go have a look. There might be an opportunity for you to get in the market, whether it be now, later, etc. from that point. Finally, just got some helpful tips just in relation to buying, building, etc. So first of all, just highlighting my first point, is just understanding your current financial position in terms of your property price, your borrowing capacity, but more so what your repayments are. At the moment, we're not particularly worried about the transactional purchase. At the moment, we're more worried about what are your monthly repayments going to be. At the moment, the mortgage repayments are going up monthly, so we're sitting down with all our clients just to make sure, what's your monthly expenditure, what kind of liabilities you got going on at the moment, what can you afford, because these mortgage repayments are continuously, they've gone up since May, so we're starting to see some people just starting to feel a little bit of the heat at the moment. So just sit down, create a budget, understand where you're at, and then also sitting down with someone to give you an idea of what your borrowing power is and what you can afford as well. So, again, having your contract reviewed, that's probably the biggest one. Most conveyancers and lawyers will do the first 3 contracts free of charge. So generally get them to give a look. They'll go through the contracts, make sure everything's all up to standard, but also anything that needs to be brought to your attention, whether it's land tax, if there's any sort of covenants, estate guidelines, etc. from that point. Picking the right block size. Generally, sometimes you see that there's all the blocks in the estate have sold and there's one, so just generally check the block sizes from that point. What else we got? Fixed price building contracts. Just making sure those fixed price building contracts generally have expiry dates, whether it be 12, 15, 18 months, so just keep that in mind. You don't want to get a block of land that's going to title in 12 to 18 months. You get a building contract that's going to expire close to that, so you might get some price increases from that point. So just make sure the timings are right. Doing your research is probably the best thing I'd probably say to you in getting an understanding of your financial position. At the end of the day, you probably know your situation better than most, and for me to come up and generalize everyone's situation, again, this is why I like this job. Everyone's situation is different, circumstances, having the ability to find solutions to certain everyone's situations, but at the end of the day, it's just making sure you do your homework. If you guys have got any questions, I'm going to wrap up. If you've got any questions, we're at C26, which is just past the coffee shop. Come down, have a chat. The guys from U Financial are also over there as well. They can give you guys an understanding, book an appointment. At the moment, what I would say, regardless if you're looking to do something now, 6, 12 months, 24 months, just get an understanding where you're at now, and potentially we can work out what you're looking to do. We can set those sort of parameters, those goals, etc. But if you've got any questions, please come down. Myself and Jade will be there, Mark as well. We do also have a bit of an inflation giveaway. We give you an array of iPhone 14. We've got a $1,000 Coles Mart voucher, petrol card, food vouchers, etc. But other than that, if you've got any questions, come down, and thank you very much for your time. That didn't come through, that last one.